Want to have a chat with Mikis in the dungeon? Apply at contact@keramitica.com.
Welcome, guys, to the 5th edition of Dungeon Chats. Chats about common sense and magic. I am Mikis. I'm the dancing bear that will dance for you to answer any question you like without hesitation in a way that a 5-year-old can understand it, that is very commonsensical and magical at the same time. So, guys, please introduce yourselves. It's the first time we have more than one person at the same time. And actually, we have one person who knows about my work and the work we do here, and another one that I've never met before. So, to you guys.
Thank you. Leo, do you want to start or should I start?
Feel free.
I'm Johannes, and I've been, you know me already.
Yeah.
I've been to the last Choices workshop, and maybe just a quick word. I know Leo from the Gestalt therapy training, so we have both been in the same institute, and we've kind of had similar or maybe the same like curriculum in the therapy training, and yeah, that's how I know Leo basically. So I'm here today because after going to one of your workshops, I like my life changed for me quite dramatically in a way that I did not anticipate before. And I think the main part of my questions is with regard to the let's say psychotherapy industry, or like the mental health industry, because I've been searching for something for many years. I've done therapy training, holotropic breath work. I went dancing every week for 2 times. By the way, I'm not I'm not dancing anymore. I don't go to the 5 rhythms anymore at the moment. I'm just doing the salsa.
Probably it's
And
more fun.
yeah, I mean, 5 rhythms is
Taking
also
your
fun.
body.
Yeah,
Dancing is dancing, like expressing
yeah,
yourself with your body. Doesn't
yeah.
matter what style you do.
Yeah, yeah, but I think for me the what struck me most was that many things that were super important to me before the workshop have a new priority now or got less important for me. And this is just something I'm super curious about because it's such a
Well,
fundamental shift.
well, Johannes, what I meant is that you each introduce yourselves in turn and then start asking
Oh,
questions. So
okay,
people watching, guys that you're watching, we're not professionals. We're just having fun. So
okay,
we're
yeah,
working this as we go along. So let
okay,
Leo
yes,
introduce himself,
okay,
and
sorry.
he can also say why he's here, and then we can go back to you and you can ask your question. Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay.
So I'm Leo. Yeah, Johannes already said how we met originally, but then I met him again after he joined your workshop, and he had a different vibe around him and an openness that I really appreciated. And we just connected really quickly, and he noticed that I am doing what he wants to be doing, which is working in this coaching space, I'll call it. And what in the end really got me here from where we initially met is just talking again and again about his process and his new understanding of being human that he brought from the jungle. Apparently, that's what it's called. And I guess I'm just really curious. I'd like to understand things. I'm a bit of a cognitive person, and I've been coaching people for 3 years. I also come to move away a little bit from what is commonly understood as therapy, as what is really like good for people, what people need. And I would really appreciate it if I could get more understanding of what you think the process is of like of healing or becoming more whole, or resolving paradoxes, maybe is what you would call it.
Okay, very
That's why
good.
I'm here.
Very good, Leo. You know, I started my life after high school I started studying psychology.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of years of that, I realized personally that I didn't really want to be a healer, like a psychotherapist or a psychologist. I just wanted to understand myself.
Mm-hmm.
So then from that, I moved to textiles and other things, to business, and then through many life occurrences to what I've been doing for the last, I don't know now, 2005, 20 years. Yeah. So just to make something clear to you, I am here since you're an inquisitive fellow to give you the Holy Grail that you,
Excellent.
that you will never find again. Not the Holy Grail in the value of whatever I will say, which might be crap. Yes, I'm not talking about that, but the opportunity that you will probably never find again in your life. I've never seen it. To be in front of a person that will answer to you any question on any possible subject.
Mm.
Science, sociology, psychology, humanity, anything you can imagine, even the sexual habits of the Siberian frog. Whatever you want to ask me, you can ask me. And I will answer to you instantly, without thinking, without hesitation, and in a way that makes sense to a 5-year-old.
Mm-hmm.
So, this is what I'm calling the Holy Grail. The value of my answers will be crap. The Holy Grail I'm referring to you is the possibility to be able to be inquisitive about anything.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? As a
Yeah,
guideline.
sounds good.
So let's start, guys. Questions, specific questions. Johannes, you want to go first?
No, it's okay. You can start, Leo.
Ask me a specific question.
Feel free.
Huh?
Should I start or?
Yeah,
Whoever
sure.
wants.
Okay. So I would like actually to start a specific question about um, body work and somatics and nervous system regulation. Why is this such a big industry at the moment, and why was it, at least for me and for many people I know, not something that helped them in the long term?
So, why it is a big industry at this moment? The answer is very simple. Everything is a big industry at this moment. Like humanity goes through all kinds of trends and fashions and so on. And whatever is current is and becomes very quickly a huge industry. So that's very easy to understand. Yeah. Even stupid things become big industry. Even very specific things become big industry. When Pilates came out, okay, it's another way to train. It became a huge boom. When the, how do you call this, like static bikes that have the big screens,
Uh,
went out, where you have a screen
yeah.
and you can see yourself running in the forest and stuff like that, and they measure your biometrics. It became like a huge industry, like $1 billion industry. It's because humanity is very diverse, very connected, very kind of like following trends and going like a herd into things. And anything that gains interest becomes viral and thus breeds a huge industry. Part two, why it hasn't helped you as you thought it would help you, whereas people report that it may help them. This is for a very simple reason. So I'm gonna be a little long because I want you to really understand this instead of just like dispensing it very easily with something that you already know, but Leo doesn't. So every living being, not just any human being, but every living being operates at different levels of functionality. Yes? So, for example, you have a nervous system, you have a lymphic system, you have all kinds of systems inside you, you have your brain, you are a unity of many organs and many functions. They all, of course, are part of the same thing and they work together. So I'm going to explain by dividing the levels of functionality of a human being, and I'm going to call them bodies of functionality. To start with, we have the physical body. Yes, you understand that. Your body that breathes, eats, does all this kind of stuff. Your physical body. Your physical body is affected by many things. If you want to affect your physical body, you can affect it through exercise, you can affect it through nutrition, you can affect it. Leo, it would be really cool if you looked at the camera because we're doing like a podcast kind of thing.
Yeah, sure. I just took a note.
You don't need to take notes, it's okay. Chill, just be part of this because otherwise it's a lecture and not a conversation, right? Yeah?
I
Okay.
actually take notes in conversations too sometimes.
Yes, please don't. I'm very autistic and it's very distracting for me. So we have the physical body. This physical body we can affect through exercise, through chemicals. You take a drug, your body is affected, through nutrition, through taking a cold shower, through changing into positive thinking. Yeah. But we cannot fully affect it. We can only affect it to a certain degree. For example, you can stay awake for many nights and not eat by taking caffeine or through pure willpower, but eventually your body will take over and you will fall asleep whether you like it or not. After 1, 2, 3 nights, I mean, how long are you going to last? The same thing applies to many things. You can take drugs like athletes take and cocaine and be super energetic, but eventually you cannot control your body 100%. Do you agree, Leo?
Sure.
Okay. Next, and the order is random, we have our emotional body. Our emotional body, of course, is part of our physical body. When certain substances are secreted, we have emotions and vice versa and so on. And again, there's many ways to affect our emotional body. For example, through our physical body. If we like have a cold shower and become energetic and all of this kind of thing, that also affects our emotions if we're down or something like that. Or let's say that you're sad, then you will go dancing and you can affect your emotional body. You can affect your emotional body through thoughts. make a different thought and say, no, no, after all, it's not so bad because, I lost my girlfriend, but I'm sure I'm gonna love another one, blah, blah, and affect your emotional body. But of course, if you agree, of course only means if you agree, we cannot affect our emotional body 100%. Sometimes our emotions take over. It doesn't matter if you take Valium or drugs or do whatever or think of nice things, you're overcome by emotion, either good or bad. Do you agree, Leo?
Yeah.
Very nice. We're doing very well. Yes. Then next is our cognitive body. Cognition means thought. Yes. So our thinking body, our thinking level of functionality, our brain, our thought process. And this, of course, is affected by our emotions, by our physical condition. Yeah. And it can be affected also by drugs, by nutrition, by stimuli, by all kinds of things. Yeah. But again, we can affect it to a certain degree because sometimes you catch a thought and it keeps going there and you can't stop it and it keeps recurring and you're kind of powerless. So again, we can affect our cognitive body through the other bodies because they all affect each other. Yes, where electrobiochemical mechanisms and every thought produces a substance, yeah, endorphins, for example, adrenaline, and every one of those bodies affects the other. We can affect them in many ways, but not 100%. Do you agree, Leo, also for the cognitive body? That
Yeah.
you cannot fully control your thoughts.
Yeah. Totally.
Okay, very good. Then we go to another body, and that is the sensory body. Of course, it's part of our physical body, everything is part, but we just make some arbitrary divisions to make it easy. Our senses, we not only have the five senses, the standard ones, like smell, touch, vision, sound, and so on and so forth. We're full of sensors. We have chronosensors that make us feel the passage of time. We have gag sensors. So if you eat something spoiled or poisoned, well, your body throws it out to protect you. We're full of sensors. We have balance sensors in our ears. I put you upside down, then you know that you're upside down. We're full of sensors. And our sensory body is also affected. If you smoke a nice joint, then your hearing becomes more acute and your touch. For example, yes, through drugs. And again, through your thinking body, yes. For example, you have a little child and he's supposed to take an injection, and the doctor like gives him a lollipop and or a toy in front of him, and he gets distracted so he doesn't feel the pain. Or if you're watching a movie and it's really interesting, you don't feel the pain from your ass on the chair. However, if it's boring, all you're thinking about is the pain in your ass because the chair is uncomfortable. Yeah? With focus, we can increase our sensory input, right? Our sensitivity with a drug, anesthetic, yes? But again, we cannot do this 100%. If you have an extreme toothache or a hemorrhoid, sometimes nothing will work. Nothing will stop this. So we can affect the sensory body as well, but not 100%. Do you agree, Leo?
Yeah.
Okay, we're
Well,
doing.
I guess there are trance states where we can meditate into where our sensory body basically is gone.
You can, but if I come and hack you with a hatchet, I'm gonna kick you out of your meditation immediately.
True. Yeah.
Right?
So I can't control it in the whole system of life.
Yes, not 100%. Yes.
Yeah.
Then next is our energetic body. Yeah, so as we said, our bodies are electrobiochemical organisms. All life forms are. Yeah, we metabolize organic matter into energy. Yeah, we have our thoughts travel through our nervous system with electrical impulses. It is measurable by science. We can have an electroencephalogram or an electrocardiogram, and we can measure the electricity that's going inside our body. We transmit to our muscles the order to move through electricity. Like you've had experiments maybe at school where they give you a frog leg and you put two electrodes and it just moves, because that's the way signals are transmitted. And there's ways to measure also what in spiritual world they call the aura, which is kind of like the electricity around anything that is alive. There's an electrical field that in spiritual place they call it an aura. And we can affect our energetic body through all of these things that I mentioned, through the physical body with drugs, through meditation, through the cognitive body, and so on and so forth. But not 100%. Sometimes we go into a room and suddenly our energy changes and we feel something weird and we cannot control it. Do you agree? Again, we cannot affect it 100%.
Yeah.
And do you agree that all of these affect the others? Your physical affects your emotional and so on and so forth. For example, if you're nauseous, you cannot be romantic if you want to vomit.
Yeah, of course.
And you can't be sexual. Your dick goes down. It's not possible. Right? Do you agree?
I hope I am, yeah. I was considering if I have experiences that don't affirm that, but luckily I don't.
Yes. Yeah. Maybe you can resist up to a point, but if you're like retching your heart out, your dick is gonna go down no matter what.
Yeah.
Okay. So then we go to number 6. In total, there's 7. Why 7? Because it's a cool number. You can divide anything into as many subcategories as you like. But we got the 7 chakras, we got all kinds of sevens. So it's a cool number. Next, we have our philosophical body. Our philosophical body is all our beliefs. And it's not the same as the cognitive body, as the thinking body. Because you may have like 2 professors of economics, and one philosophically is a free economist, and the other philosophically is a socialist, a communist, and they may have the same knowledge, they may have the same things, and yet 2 of them, one may watch, they may watch a demonstration by strikers, and the riot police attacking them, and one of them will say the entitled losers that disrupt society and cause damage to property, who are losers that all they want is to claim things they don't want to work. And the other one, looking at the same thing, will think, oh, the pigs who are suppressing the proletariat in order to please the capitalist and the imperialist. And they will have emotions that are relevant to this thought process. They will have different thoughts about the subject. They will feel differently in their body just because they have a different chosen point of view due to their beliefs. Yes? Do you understand the philosophical body, Leo?
Yeah. It's the
All,
collection of all my beliefs and assertions about the
all
world.
your beliefs were actually your operating system. They define how you look at things. It's like two photographers. They go to a beach, and on the one side, the beach is really beautiful. On the other side, there's a pile of garbage that the wind has brought. One will spend the time taking pictures of the garbage. The other time, they will spend their time taking pictures of the turquoise waters. Yeah? It's the same locale, but everybody's looking at it from a different point of view. Yes? Due to their beliefs, due to their thought process, and so on and so forth. Now, the cool thing about this is we can affect our philosophical body 100%. It's difficult, but with time and perseverance, somebody who was raised a devout Catholic can go totally the other way. Or somebody who was raised a capitalist can go the most communist. Or somebody that is a humanist can be a cynic. It takes time because we have millions of beliefs and we have to kind of like do a thorough job, and we're always affected by our automatic beliefs, but it is possible. Do you agree, Leo?
Yeah. Well,
Very good. Yes, think about it.
I think there is one thing where I would say that we can probably in the long term change our basic beliefs, but I feel like we are still limited to what I would say a subset of possible beliefs that are somehow close to truth or reality. Like, I can try hard for 30 years to tell myself that the sun is actually not in the center of the solar system, but I don't think I will ever truly convince myself of that because the pre-existing beliefs are so deeply rooted that I would never be able to let that into my system.
Well, allow me to say, my friend Leo,
Mhm.
that there are some 10 million flat earthers,
I know.
and many of them are like educated people, and they were not raised by flat earthers, the majority of them. They learned at school that the earth is round.
Mhm.
There is very simple mathematical processes to prove to them, or experiments. There's like hundreds of them that can prove that the earth is not flat. And the nicest of them just go up in a plane and look, you know. Yeah. Yet they believe fully, 100%,
Mhm.
something that is totally against reality. I can prove to you that the majority of the beliefs of humanity are totally against any kind of like observable reality.
You know what? You're right. I think I just said something just
Yeah.
flat out wrong.
For example, right now, there is probably 1 billion people on the planet that believe that sex is not physical and that you can choose to be a man or a woman.
Mhm.
There's like maybe not 1 billion, maybe 500 million right now on Earth. That sex is non-binary. It's the most binary thing in the world. You either have XX chromosomes or XY. You either have small gametes, sperm, or you have big gametes, eggs. In all of nature, the female has big gametes, regardless of the size of its body, and the male has small gametes. And of course, with chromosomes, you could say there are rare cases where people have three X's or one X and Y, but these are like mutations of nature, and they're not the biological reality. They're exceptions. The same way as I've seen five-legged goats. Yet still 500 million people believe in that and many other things. Yes? So do you agree now that we can change our beliefs 100%, regardless of reality.
Yeah. I think especially if you look at it in the long run,
Yeah.
and with help, maybe
Look, Leo,
systemically.
it's not my intention to railroad you or to make you agree with me.
No,
You have
I won't
any
agree if I
doubt?
don't.
If you don't agree, if you don't, please. Yes, okay? Very nice. So now we have a very interesting phenomenon. We have 5 levels of functionality, 5 bodies that we cannot fully control. Then we come upon one that we can fully control. The last body I'm going to talk about is the symbolic body. And basically, the symbolic body is everything that we do. Everything we do. The way we dress, the way we walk, the way we talk. Scientists say that 97% of human communication is nonverbal. And out of the 3% that is, 97% of that also is symbolic and nonverbal because, I can say, hey, asshole, we're friends, we talk like that. It means one thing. Or say, asshole, and it means a totally different thing.
Mhm.
Right? Or you may say, like, to understand the symbolic body, I really love my grandma. So when it was the last time you saw her or visited her or talked to her? Oh, I don't know, 7 years? Okay. So your mouth is telling me you really love your grandma. Your body is telling me you don't give a flying fuck about your grandma. Yeah?
Yeah.
The symbolic body, so it's everything that we do and everything that we transmit symbolically, yes? Like I'm wearing this colorful shirt, it means something. If I was wearing black, it would mean something else. Yeah? So the symbolic body as well, I propose to you, we can 100% affect. So for example, if you're a boxer and you're right-handed, you can tie your backhand behind your back for a year and only play with the left hand, and then you can become a lefty or ambidextrous. They do that. They teach, they tie the feet of the geishas, they used to do that, so that they would walk very elegantly on tiptoe, and they deform them. You've seen putting books on the head so people walk straight and they do exercises. You can be a lawyer, dress like a lawyer, and behave like a lawyer, and have an existential crisis, and you can go and be like a hippie barman on a gay beach in Thailand. And you can have a totally different behavior and way of being and existing. Do you agree that it's possible? Again, with time, perseverance, and effort, to 100% affect the things that you do and the things that you are, your symbolic body.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna start breathing underwater, so there are still limits to being human, but anything within the limits of being human.
No, no, no,
Yeah.
no. You misunderstand. I did not talk about your capabilities.
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
talking about your choices, your symbolic choices. So maybe you've never swam ever because you were afraid of water, but then you can change that and become a swimmer and learn to hold your breath for 3 minutes underwater, for example. Whereas before you
I
wouldn't go close to water. I'm not talking about your capabilities. Your capabilities will always have a limit. I'm talking about
Yeah.
your choices
I mean,
and your automatic behaviors. If you practice every time somebody says thank you to say you're welcome, and then you're going to say it, even if your mama didn't teach you,
mhm.
right? We go, like I went to study to England and I learned to do things the English way. So when I was driving, I would go to the roundabout and wait for everybody to pass. And when I was in Greece, back to my country, I went there. The second day I was slaughtered. I wasn't going anywhere. And I became a predatory driver again. I would go and fit in every gap because that's what they do there, right?
Yeah.
So my behavior as a driver in the UK compared to my behavior as a driver in Greece or in Lebanon is very different, or in Thailand. So do you agree that we can 100% affect our symbolic body?
Yeah.
That is very good news. Because first of all, and I'm answering further than your question, and I'll get back to your question. This is exactly how I work with people. If we have 7 bodies, yes, and 5 were not in total control, 5, and 2 were possibly in total control, if you use your philosophical body, like choosing your own beliefs instead of just having the beliefs that you acquired through your life and don't even know why you believe them, then that is the steering wheel of the car. You can steer everything, your physical body, your emotional body, everything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you have a car in the parking lot and you turn the wheel, it's not going anywhere. You need the gas pedal. If you use the symbolic body, your actions, as the gas pedal, then suddenly you find yourself on the driver's seat in the cockpit of your whole being. Because through those two, you can control 100% your emotions, given time and perseverance, of course, and training. Your emotions, your thoughts, your senses, your energy. So
Yeah.
that's part one. Why did I say all this big thing to answer your question? The reason why you didn't get everything you expected from this kind of practices was because you were only affecting 2 or 3 of these bodies. Bodies of functionality, of course, I mean, it's one body, yes? And the rest were fighting against it. Possibly one explanation is because you didn't truly believe it. Another explanation can be so when you don't truly believe it doesn't work. Another possible explanation was because you were operating at different levels in a way that was contradictory to this effort. It works for people that are not conscious of these kind of like divisions inside them. We're all conscious, but not really conscious. It helps with people when accidentally they find themselves in a situation where these levels, they kind of like align together and don't fight each other.
Mm-hmm.
In reality, whatever you do, if those 7 levels are aligned and they're working together, it's going to work. Whatever practice that is, whatever therapy, whatever anything. If those 7 things are aligned in one line and they're not fighting each other, and one is not over there and the other one's over there, and the other one there and the other one there, then it's going to work. Everything is going to work, whatever. Random. In the same way as nowadays for all drugs, they do clinical trials, animal trials, human trials, blah, blah, blah. They pass everything, and then they fail simple placebo trials. And placebo is when you give somebody like a sugar pill, nothing, an aspirin, and you tell them that it's the cure for your, I don't know, arthritis, and it actually works. And actually, the placebo effect is basically, on average, because it changes by condition to condition, is about 32%. It means in 1 in 3 people, the fake drug will work as well or better than the real one. So if you don't believe in it, it's not going to work. And this is my answer. Is it satisfactory?
So then if this is true, then but I think I did believe because when I started to do therapy, this was the most helpful thing that I had done in my entire life. Like especially Gestalt therapy, it was for me it was the holy grail. I thought like now everything is coming
But
together
your
and
belief system before you came to my workshop was fully paradoxical and all over the place.
yes, I know, yeah.
Well, then that's your explanation. For example, it could be other things.
Yeah,
But as an example, your philosophical was like fighting itself most through this process. So you were getting some
yeah,
benefit, but you were not getting deep benefit, as you say.
yeah, yeah. True.
Mm.
Now a question from Leo.
I feel like this might be an interesting follow-up question. What is trauma?
What is trauma?
Yeah.
Look, in life, pain is inevitable, but suffering is optional. So, for example, if somebody beats you up, you will have pain. And the pain will go away because the pain is a result of the beating. Suffering is very different. Suffering is totally optional. You may be depressed forever because you got beaten. You can be angry forever or like feel like a victim forever because you got beaten. You can, while you have pain, you can say, oh, and now I'm losing the football game and all of this and blah, blah, and have not just physical pain, but also like emotional pain and cognitive pain as well. You may suffer forever from this event. So suffering is optional. Pain is inevitable, but pain passes when the reason why the pain exists goes away. You heal and there's no more pain. Suffering can be forever. Trauma is a choice to suffer. And usually, trauma is because of a belief paradox. For example, women or men, it doesn't matter, who have been abused as children by a father or a brother or somebody like that, or a friend, they suffer forever. They are in deep trauma. Most likely they have fucked up relationship, very hard time ever to trust or things like that. And they're much more likely to be fucked than a woman that was walking in the park and got raped. The reason is that these people, whether women or men, doesn't matter, they're not just victims. They're both victims and guilty because if dad or the brother did it or whoever, dad, let's call it, she thinks maybe I deserved it. Maybe I was a bad girl. Maybe I enjoyed it. Guilt, shame. Maybe I was competing with my mom. Maybe. So they're both victims and guilty at the same time. Whereas the person that was attacked in the park, after the pain of the whatever happens passes away, they may get over it, fall in love, and be well, because it's very clear to them that they're a victim. So what could I do? That was it. They have no guilt, they have no shame, they have no other trouble around that. But if, for example, the same woman that was raped in the park, everybody was telling her for weeks, don't pass through the park at night because it's dangerous, and then she got raped, she will have way more trauma than the one who didn't know that the park was dangerous, who was raped in the mall where she didn't think it was dangerous. Because there you have a paradox, you have conflicting emotions, so there's the choice to suffer. You suffer from victimhood, but you also suffer from guilt and shame.
Mhm.
So you keep it and you make it something very important. You embellish it, you polish it, you make it your symbol of your victimhood and your guilt and your shame and your self loathing. And that's what trauma is. The reason why depression and associated mental illnesses, according to the WHO, the World Health Organization, are galloping. And this year, 2025, is when they officially will overcome heart disease as the number one destroyer of wealth, killer, destroyer of health, and so on. These are official figures. Despite a huge pharmaceutical industry about depression and the rest, despite like a multi-billion-dollar business of psychotherapy, psychology, blah blah, alternative theories, wellness programs, and all this kind of thing, they call it the galloping, the hidden epidemic. Why, despite the billions and billions that are being spent on it, pharmaceuticals for mental shit, they are a bigger turnover than the pharmaceuticals for every other illness put together.
Mhm.
Why do they fail? Because all therapies focus on trauma. How to discover trauma, how to heal trauma, how to alleviate trauma, how to comfort trauma, how to resolve trauma. They all do the same thing. Whether like scientific, as we call it, like psychology, psychotherapy, or alternative, it doesn't matter. They're all looking at trauma. And the problem is not trauma, the problem is cognitive dissonance, internal conflict, internal paradox. Two or more contradictory beliefs, realities, actions, thoughts at the same time. If you break up with your girlfriend
Yes, and that brings. Oh,
and she's a bitch and she wasn't good and she cheated on you or something like that, then you can move on and go out and get somebody else. But if at the same time you believe that no, actually she was good, and actually I didn't do my best, or actually I did some shitty things as well, so I'm both guilty and the victim, then you can be depressed about losing your girlfriend like forever, as long as you want to suffer. So trauma is a choice. But in today's society, trauma is also kind of something like transmitted by others. If you're not feeling good, you must have some kind of trauma. So if you don't remember one, will help you remember it.
so what, in my understanding, trauma, there's like a real And to use the bodies, there is something, a representation of it happening in the energetic body, in the emotional body, and the physical body. Like the tensions of the muscles that go together with basically what I now understood what you said is two different thoughts that would, in these 7 different bodies, produce a different effect from each other. But because I'm trying to make them real or right at once at the same time, even though that doesn't work, it creates dissonance and a conflict inside of me.
Yes, more or less, but let me give you an example, okay? I had a very kind of sad story in my life.
Mhm.
I never met my father. My father died when I was a year and a half, but basically he was dying from the moment I was born. And I kind of like started like that. Then my mother remarried when I was 7. I had an older brother, a year and a half older than me. Our father died when I was 1.5, he was 3. Our mother remarried when I was 7, kind of like to join 2 families because he was another widower. That person that she married, it was a very dysfunctional relationship. He was very emotionally mature and very abusive. And I had what you call a horrible childhood. On top of that, I'm kind of like autistic. So I would go into fits, so people would make fun of me. I had no social life. I felt like betrayed and all of these kind of things. Yeah. Later in life, I was hit by a disease, incurable disease that I still have. What makes me fat and gives me strokes. All my heart is full of stents. I'm the metal guy. I'm the bionic guy. In 2002, they gave me an 80% chance of not making the year because I was having strokes and being paralyzed 2, 3 a week. I didn't know if I would be in a wheelchair with a straw. I lost my wife. She cheated on me and she dumped me when I was sick. All kinds of shit. I have zero trauma. I feel that it's awesome. Everything that happened to me is exactly what made me who I am today. When I felt paralyzed, it forced me to change my life, where I was a depressed workaholic, very dutiful with 2 children and a wife, and just like killing myself. Everything that happened to me has been super. I am happy 99% of the time. 1% for spice, 3 minutes until I solve it. And people who live with me here and see me 24/7, they know that. That's why they're here. So I have transformed all my traumas into blessings. Again, my illness that I managed to hold back with many things and heal myself and lose weight and be super well and found this beautiful place, Tierra Mítica. Maybe one time you'll visit us. You're very welcome. It's free for people to come here. We're very open. We're now in our dungeon, a castle. We built a whole castle that we hand sculpted, and we play RPG games every Saturday, the guys. And the girls bring us sandwiches. And all of these statues back there, you can see my character. I'm the Duke. We fight dragons. Yeah. I have a wife, and although I'm very, very sick man, I get laid more than any of you young guys. So I lived a blessed life. I'm super happy, super fulfilled. I write my books, I do whatever I like. Yeah, I've given up administration, all that stuff. I've given everything to everybody else. I don't give a fuck. I don't own anything. I gave to the Tiramiticans and my wife everything. This place, everything I own. I own nothing. If people don't want to feed me, I don't have food to eat. I don't care. I can take my stick anywhere and go on a walk. I I was a stutterer, so nobody was my friend when I was a kid. I couldn't speak. So I was the lowest in the social scale of anybody you can imagine. Add that to throwing autistic fits, and you get the picture.
Mhm.
I have zero trauma. I'm so grateful. If everything had not happened exactly that way, I would not be where I am today. So, you know what? Fuck trauma. Trauma is fun. But if you want to suffer, you are very free to do so.
Sorry.
Just a second. That's his question. When he finishes, you can whatever you like.
So I feel like asking, what was the process then for you from having a shitty life and being on the social lower end of the world to feeling awesome about everything that has happened? What actually is like the phenomenological change that occurred?
Look, first of all, this is like a question of you explain to you like a 4 hour thing, and I'm not going to do that. It's a very general question. So I'm going to go to Johannes to say his pointer, and then think of a question that actually does not require a whole process. So if you ask somebody, okay, so what was the process to you becoming like a brain surgeon? And they got to tell you why they became a doctor first, and they got to tell you why they chose the specialty of surgeon, and why they dared or decided to go into like a more unexplored field. This is not a question; it's a process. Eh, You, Johannes, go for it.
So you said one sentence,
I'm not
trauma is a
refusing to answer. You can come to visit and spend here a week, and we're gonna have a coffee, and I can tell you anything. I don't have anything to hide. Or, or you can buy my book of Amazon, A Mythic Voyage, and read the book, which is kind of autobiographical until 2014, and you will find out. Okay? You can even download it in electronic form for just €1. Johannes.
Yes, you said one sentence, trauma is a choice to suffer. When I go to my Gestalt Institute and I tell them, listen, guys, thing is, trauma is just a choice to suffer.
They
They're
will burn you
gonna,
like a witch. They
yes,
will
I
come
know, I know.
with pitchforks and burn you
Yes,
like a witch
yes.
in the square of the village. That's what they're gonna do.
Yeah. So
Doesn't, but
basically,
I'm not afraid to say the truth because people nowadays they love being victims. I'm gonna
and
say the
so do you
truth.
think,
People want to burn me, they've tried and they can, but it's the truth.
and so could you say that it is because people like have made it a lifestyle to be a victim in a way that this is something they identify with so much?
Obviously, but the point is
Mm.
why, and
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
why does society not only permit it but promotes it?
Yes,
Because if you were, for example, in the Second World War trying to escape and save your life, and you said, Mom, I have emotional problems, your mom would say, and I have starving problems because we only have one piece of bread and there's four of us. So who gives a flying fuck? And then, of course, you would not go there because if you watch zombie shows, how's the famous one called, Leroy, with, with the zombies? What? Walking Dead, yeah? You find out that you started watching the episodes and everybody's freaking out about the zombies, yeah? And nobody has any emotional problems anymore. You know, when they have emotional problems, when they find themselves in a safe place for a while, yeah, and there's no zombies because they're inside, I don't know, a fence, then they start having emotional problems. And then when the zombies break in again, they have zero emotional problems. They don't care. Their mama died. Somebody ate their child. They don't give a flying fuck. They just run and try to find another safe place. So it's trauma optional. You see this kind of movies, we already know that. Where people are under survival terms, they have no trauma, zero trauma. Because if you have trauma, you're dead. You're too slow. That's why no animal has trauma. You see a scene in a documentary about the African savannah, whatever the fuck. And then you have this antelope and they're grazing. And then suddenly a cheetah or a lion attacks them. There's a big flurry of movement. And then the lion either catches one or doesn't catch one. Let's say it catches one. The rest go 100 yards away, relaxed. Within 10 seconds, they're munching on the grass. They have zero trauma, and none of them says, "Oh, yeah, it should have been me, not Martha, who got it." And no animal would say that. They say, "Bless God that it's done, and it's not me." So obviously, trauma is a choice. And obviously, I will be burned to the stake by saying that, which I don't really mind. It will be a fun experience. It'd be great in my biography. They burned him like the witches of old. It's going to be a cool way to go if they do that.
Okay. Can you say, or can I still, or was
Yeah,
that my
do
question?
whatever you like, as long as you don't
Yeah.
ask a question, explain the universe right here and now.
Yeah.
That's a good
Napoleon
question.
the Great, Napoleon the Great said, "The difficult we can do immediately. The impossible will take just a little bit longer." Yeah. So I'm willing to answer everything, but within the time frame of a podcast that people will be willing to watch,
Mhm.
like max 3 hours.
So it's me or Leo?
Whoever wants.
Um, I think this question connects well to what you said because you said in the last podcast the worst crime on humanity is charity. So basically giving people uh, like so, shit for free without having
The
like a
biggest, of course, the biggest crime is charity, because whoever you do charity to owes you something energetically. So if they disappoint you, you're going to say, "Oh, I did all so much for this person. Now they're betraying me." Second, because you are not helping them in reality. They say, "Don't give people fish, teach them how to fish." Third, because it's so easy to make a deal. You're in need right now, my friend. Yes. And I'm capable of helping you. Okay. I'm going to help you. Yes. But the deal is, after you're on your feet, you're going to give me the money back, or you're going to do me this job. You're going to paint my roof, or you're going to do whatever. And that's much more useful to people, because then they don't owe you anything. They've paid you. They can feel proud, and they are not victims, and they are responsible for their lives. A society of charity just manufactures victims continuously.
And how does it translate to the social sector in Germany, Austria?
That is exactly why depression is galloping, and lack of self-worth and self-hatred and dissatisfaction. That's exactly. It's
Yeah.
because of the social granny that wants to take care of every victim. Thus, you are much better off if you're a victim than if you're powerful. So people make themselves weak on purpose because it's the best survival mechanism. Instead of charity and gift outs, there should be trade-offs, deals. I have seen invalids on wheelchairs trying to do their best they can and helping society and not being parasites and actually doing something, whatever they can. But if you don't give people the possibility to hold their own, you're damaging them. You're not helping them. You're making them dependent. And nowadays, in countries like Germany and Austria and most Western countries, you're much better off if you're useless. This is the reversal of survival of the fittest, is survival of the least fit, because these people get the most money and the most privileges. And of course, it's a very good place to be a victim. People like you because you're not challenging to them. So if you go to Leo and you're crying and you say, "Oh, I'm fucked, my girlfriend left me," and so on, you make him feel good because he is feeling bad about his girlfriend, you're feeling worse, so he's going to comfort you, then you both feel better. Yeah? And then, tomorrow he will come to you and be a victim so that you help him, and again you feel better. So you're sustaining your trauma, the two of you. Whereas instead, if you say, "Okay, come on, man, Leo, you lost your girlfriend. Make a choice. Clear choice, no paradox. Do you want her back? Let's conspire to get her back. You don't want her. Well, Ariella has a friend that is really nice with big bazumas. Come and meet her and stop this bullshit. I believe you will be serving him more. You want your ex-girl?
Yeah.
Let's get her. You don't want her? Let's get you another one." Common sense, but it's also magical because it works.
Yeah.
The moment you're in love again, you don't care about the previous one. She's gone. The moment you have a pretty one in your hands and you're like fucking her like crazy and you're excited, who cares about the trauma? It's gone instantly. And if you want her, then stop your bullshit and get her back.
Yes, I can confirm that because uh, I have had more money when I did not work here than now as I'm working. And I feel so much better now doing something actually. Uh,
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy. Like, yeah. Yeah.
Okay, Leo, your turn. Question for the dancing bear. Am I doing well so far? Am I answering any question instantly and without hesitation?
I
Leo,
think so.
Leo, yes or no?
Yeah, you're fulfilling what you had promised.
Okay, go for it then.
Not all answers have been crap either, so there's something going on here. Um, yeah, I feel like asking another simple question. Maybe it's too big again, but in society we have this narrative that we live in this huge patriarchy, right? And it's such a damaging authoritarian structure that we built, and women have it harder than men, basically, or have had it harder than men. And now we need to fix that. And personally, I have a little bit of another view on that. And I think men, at least most men in the past and in the present, are far more fucked over than women. Like, we're the people that go to die in random wars. We're the people that are having heart attacks because we're workaholics until nowhere. And now, for the past 10 years, we're also the people that are to blame for everything that is wrong that we created by self-sacrificing ourselves for the last 300 years or so. And I'm wondering why you think this picture of men being the perpetrators is so common right now. Why is it so sticky? Why is it spreading so much?
Because look, the paradox, the conflicting beliefs were there for a reason. It's a long story, but were there for a reason. And the main reason was social cohesion. So in Paleolithic times, Neolithic times, it was like a dog eat dog. And basically, if you look just like in the 1900s, which is like 1,100 years from now, just this much, the Vikings would go and attack England, and they would come back to their village. They would go to the big hall, and there would be their grandmas and children and grandchildren and everybody. And they would say, look, we brought 80 slaves, and we raped and plundered and stole 50 goats and took all the goats from the monasteries and the churches. And in addition, we brought back 12 perfect baby skulls for our beer. And everybody would clap. Nobody had a problem with that. In the times 2,000 years ago, when like people like Jesus Christ and Krishna and all this kind of like symbols appeared, the philosophy was you gotta attack everybody, steal their women and their goats and their land, because this is the only way to survive. And then new philosophies came up. The thing is that in the last few years, we don't have any problem. Humanity has survived. We have done it. We can't be killed. We are more than 8 billion people. And we have no problems. We have gone from the Second World War to the biggest time of peace in the history of mankind and well-being. Because there's basically no wars. People think there is wars. Okay, so what? So there's one in Ukraine that's now. There hasn't been anything like that for years. And how many people have died? 100, 200,000. That's because they're promoting it and they're not letting it stop. As a percentage of the population of the earth is minuscule. And a few in Yemen, a few in Syria, nothing. Nothing. 150 years ago, there was not a single person that lived their whole lives without experiencing 5 wars where they live. None of you has ever been near a war. And you don't even know anybody that's ever been near a war unless they're professional soldiers of some kind, and these are very rare. You don't even know what the fuck war is. And the grandpa that remembers the wars, they're dead now. We have social services. 100 years ago, it didn't exist. Education was a privilege of the rich. Nowadays, all of the countries have some kind of like primary as a minimum free education and compulsory education. We have most of the poorest people today are more rich than the King of France. Why? because today the average life expectancy is like close to 80 years in the West, and in total about 70 in the whole world, including sub-Sahara average that's about like 55 or 60. But at the beginning of the 20th century, the life expectancy on Earth was 38%, and in the West, 52 in the rich country. So we're practically like exploded. Poverty has gone down tremendously. In 1850, 25% of the population of the US are slaves. Most of the countries in Europe, they abolished slavery in the 20th century. There was still slavery. Of most countries, Nigeria in 1985 was one of the last to put anti-slavery laws. Nowadays, they're everywhere. Nobody's a slave. They called slaves people who are like in indentured service because they were money, things like that, but they're not slaves. And they're measured in the tens of thousands. And they also have some rights. Just 150, 200 years ago, anybody could fuck your virgin daughter because there was privilegium protogamia, prima nota, given by the Pope, the representative of God on earth, to the feudal lords. Fuck any girl you like on the first day of her marriage. All these things. Our life expectancy is going sky high. My mother is 88 going on 89 now in 2 months, and she's fine. She walks around, she drives now, she has to stop driving because she has to renew her license. It's too boring at 89 because she's going to be dangerous soon. But yeah, she's fine. She goes, plays cards, she lives on her own. Yeah. We are doing so well because the king of France was sitting in the corridors. They invented perfumes because they stank. People would die from something like penicillin can heal regularly every week if you like. And we have no problems. And we could afford many, many things. So we started taking care of the disenfranchised and the vulnerable and the weak. And it became a religion. Whoever is perceived as weak is good, and whoever is perceived as strong is bad. So men were vilified. But yes, you are right. Men die in wars, men go to the mines, men make roads. Women nowadays, they want and they demand, and it's law, that they can get seats on boards and have the same number of every profession and so on. But none of them choose to be miners or to drill on roads with a big machine that goes. There is an ancient Greek tragedy called Lysistrate. It's like a comedy. A comedy. It's a comedy and a tragedy. So that's a point where the women are dissatisfied with the men. So they say, you're not going to get any more pussy. We're not going to sleep with you until you give us our demands. So they make a strike, sex strike. And that's like thousands of years old, this thing. Now imagine if today all the men that are vilified and they're called toxic masculinity and patriarchy and so on, all the men, they made 1 week strike. Okay, you don't need us. We don't go to work. No electricity, no road repair, nothing. The ports, everything will stop. It will freeze. Because all the jobs that sustain humanity are made by men. That doesn't mean that women do not have an equally valuable contribution. But the same way as not being grateful for women is not being grateful for men. Idiocy. And it's a symptom of the paradox.
What paradox?
Well, it's a long story again because besides personal paradoxes, there are universal paradoxes that we all share and are taught as a society. But you either have to read my books or come to a workshop to go into depth about that, because we don't have the time in a very short podcast, yes, to go into that. But there are universal paradoxes that everybody has. I'll give you a very simple example. Yeah, very simple, just like that. Sex is the way life is created. Without sex, there is no life. There's no reproduction. There's no life. We go extinct. Right? Do you agree? So that's a
Absolutely.
good thing. That's a good thing, but it's not, because sex is supposed to be vile, immoral, abusive, and so on. And every spiritual symbol, like the Dalai Lama or whoever the Pope, they are celibate on purpose. They don't have sex. Even Madonna, the mother of Christ, Mary, although she was married and with Joseph, and even if we accept that Joseph was a closet homosexual that never slept with her, yeah, and even if we accept that, and even if we accept that she was inseminated immaculately, which means perfectly clean, so every other woman that exists is dirty. If she was a virgin on the way in, she cannot have been a virgin where, like, a more than a foot long baby came out of her vagina. But still, we say she's the Virgin Mary. How nuts is that? So, sex, which is the very point of life, is something that we should be ashamed of, guilty about. It's kind of abusive. We have to hide our darkest thoughts. And even in the most progressive societies, like the Scandinavians that fuck everybody, and they say, like, the Dutch girls, they're not going to kiss you, but they're going to fuck you first. Still, there have many problems of shame and guilt and condemnation about sex. So you should do it, but very discreetly. You shouldn't enjoy it too much, because either you are like a slut or you're a pig. Whereas the reason why we enjoy sex is because sex is dangerous in the wild. If you're having sex, you're absorbed and you can be attacked. So nature had to make it very enjoyable to make people actually do it. So this is like a universal paradox that we all share. And even if you're very open about your sexuality, you still feel weird about things. You're still like, yeah, it's something like murky and dirty, and you shouldn't like enjoy it too much. So this is an example of a universal paradox that everybody on earth shares, to a larger or smaller degree.
Thanks.
Johannes,
I think this might be a question that was interesting to Leo as well. Psychosomatics. Um, I I'm still sometimes wondering if I have like some if I have developed some nutrition, like how do you say? Was heißt Unverträglichkeit, Leo?
Intolerances.
Intolerances. Or yeah, I was just wondering if that's because I don't really believe that this is just appearing or happening, but sometimes my body does weird shit that it didn't do when I was younger. So, and I know many people who have issues like have, in my opinion, it's not about the nutrition, but yeah, many people believe that it's the nutrition. So, is it also some kind of um, yeah, belief that it's the nutrition, or is there like an objective thing that you can say when you eat that, and you poop a lot, then maybe it's not good to eat it.
Okay, to start with, every single person on earth, when they're older, they have, can you go back? Can you go back? Yes, because then we cannot cut you and put you in the video if
Oh,
you come too
yeah,
close. Okay,
sure.
so every single person on earth has less tolerance than when they're young, when they're older. That's for sure. To everything. Yes? Because
Mm.
that's nature. Yes? When you're young, you can tolerate things much better than when you're older. Because slowly, slowly, your body changes. That's part one. Part two is that everything is psychosomatic because, as we said,
Mm.
the
Yeah.
physical body and the emotional body and the cognitive body, they interact constantly. And also the sensory body. Like nothing happens to you directly. Your senses go to the hearing center, to the optical center, to this and that. They get processed, they get filtered, they get altered, and then you perceive them. So of course, all these bodies they interact with each other. For example, as I told you, I'm a very ill person. I suffer from constant pain. I also have a big prostate problem. When in my office, I have to go and pee every 10 minutes. Yeah. Or at night, many times, like every hour or half an hour, because my prostate is fucked and I have cramps and a lot of pain. But you have seen, Johannes, when I work, I feel nothing. I can be there 12, 13 hours tireless while all you young guys fall to the floor, and I have the same level of energy that I have in the morning. And when I'm working, I shut all the pains off. I don't feel them because I'm very aligned my seven bodies, so I can tell my sensory body, don't give me nothing now. And then, I can go forever without peeing. And then, of course, I make myself pee nowadays. Before, I wouldn't pee the whole day. Now, to protect my prostate for further damage, I just go and pee on the breaks, but I don't need to. And you've seen that. And I don't need to do anything. I feel no pain. I don't care. And this is a proof of how much control you can have over your body and your emotions and things like that. So it's a combination of things. I suggest that you should listen to your body, but also don't let it deprive you of anything. Don't create beliefs that, okay, if I have this, then I will suffer that.
Mm.
Yes? Be
Yeah.
like a fresh newborn to every experience. And of course, if you have patterns because you have some kind of like physical ailment, then of course you should take care of that and not eat something that gives you discomfort. But again, it doesn't mean anything. If you're in a good place and you're having fun, then just eat it and take the consequences. And then magically, there may be no consequences on that particular occasion. Who knows? Like the universe is interconnected. So let's say I'm driving to the center of Athens, which is a very busy city, which is where I come from. Now I'm in the jungle of Peru. And I'm in anxiety. Like this is like I've observed it all my life. I'm in anxiety that I'm late and I'm not going to find a parking spot. It's impossible to find a parking spot. But if I go to the center of Athens, it's going to be cool. Of course I'm going to find a parking spot. Magically, without me doing anything in front of me, somebody gets out. And then right there I go in. Because my body self-regulates, I'm in the zone, and my eye sees everything. Yeah. You know how you're in the zone, when you're playing a game or doing a sport and you're not thinking, you're just reacting. Then you're like working at top capacity because your subconscious body is much more fast and powerful than your thinking body because your mind is very slow compared to your body. If I throw you this lighter to the screen instinctively, you'll go like this. You don't have time to think. You're going to want to catch or protect yourself from the lighter. And that happens automatically, yes, from your subconscious that does all the automatic shit. Your subconscious makes you walk, which is like 1,000 balances and things like that. Before you learn them, it's very difficult for a toddler to walk. Or bicycle. Once you learn bicycle, your body knows how to balance. You don't fall anymore. So when you're in the zone, then magically the parking spot appears at the right moment. You don't try to go through the light, you just go cool, and then everything works out. Whereas if you're looking like that for a parking spot, you try to accelerate to get that one, and then you don't get that one, you get even more upset, and then blah, 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 and then say, okay, I got to go faster to find the spot before the next guy, yeah? And then you never do because you pass the spot and it opens right behind you and the next guy gets it because you're trying something like that. So yes, the universe is interconnected because at times you are consciously connected with it as well and you're in the zone so you can take advantage of everything that's happening around you, and other times you're like obsessed with something in your mind and deep in thought or things like that, or in anxiety or something else, and then you miss all the signals, and then you basically are not in sync with the world around you, and then you get fucked. The same thing applies many times to your bowels.
To my what?
To your bowels, your stomach. Yes.
Ah, okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And your health.
Mhm.
Life, my friend, is a self-fulfilling prophecy. Whatever you believe will happen, happens.
Yeah.
It's like Murphy's Law, which says if something can go wrong, it will. So if you believe in Murphy's Law, everything around you gets fucked. So you miss a plane and you're angry and you're this and you're that, and then you have a traffic accident because you're angry, and then you scream at your wife and she doesn't want to talk to you and all that. Whereas if you say, okay, I lost the plane, what an opportunity. I have an extra day, I don't have to go to work. I'm going to like see a friend I haven't seen for a long time, or look for some pussy in the airport. Maybe you meet your soulmate, or go to that show that I never had time to watch, or that movie. And then everything happens magically around you, very beautiful. You have the best day of your life. Yes, because you're not suffering. Psychosomatics are real and proven. Yeah. You go out in the morning and somebody tells you, hey, Johannes, you're pale. Is there something wrong with you? You say, no, 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 I feel good. Then the next person say, Johannes, you look very white like a thing. Are you sure you're okay? By early afternoon, you're sick already. Leo, my friend, a question? Do you have a question for me?
Yeah, I have a critical question maybe, or something that I found disturbing and intriguing. And that was, I did a little bit of research before this conversation, and I found out you write some books, and I found out that you used to do ayahuasca retreats with the actual ayahuasca tree, and now it is not anymore. And I was just like reading these reviews on what great, awesome experiences people have had. And then at some point, of course, you also like scroll down to those different stars. And I'm like, I'm like, okay, what is the worst fucking review I can find?
That I'm the devil.
Of course. And there's
Yes,
actually one single specific thing I want to ask you about.
Yeah.
And that is, there was one review that said that you slapped your assistant or something like that because he was grammatically incoherent. And that's all. And I was like, that is such an odd thing. And it was so out of context that I just wanted to talk to you about that. Like, what's up there? Why do people say things like that? What
First of
happened?
all, this has never happened. Second of all the reviews that are bad are from years ago, and they are about money. The people who never did my workshop, or people who quit my workshop, but mainly people who never did my workshop or came here. There was a bunch of people who booked a workshop, and in the beginning we would do that, and then we found out that we're going to go bankrupt. So if you are like a few days before your workshop and you change your mind, we don't give you your money back. It's in the contract, like the terms and agreements, because we learned that people were abusing it. And many people got cold feet before they came to the workshop. These people, they said, give us the money or we will destroy you. And they even made a YouTube channel that has a picture from a video of mine where I'm talking about a little angel Mickey Mouse and a little devil Mickey Mouse, and one of them says, "Eat your nephew's cake," and the other one says, "No, no, no, the angel Mickey Mouse, don't do that, it's for your nephews." And then the devil says, "But it's so good, nobody will know." And I'm doing something like that, and they've taken a picture of me where I look like the devil. So I've never slapped my assistant because they were incoherent. I may have done a demonstration of something, because when you are a fireman, they teach you that if somebody's in panic, you gotta slap them. And officially, people are taught that if somebody's in panic, you gotta slap them and take them out of it. Yeah. So I may have done a demonstration. I've actually had an assistant of mine slap me to concussion for a demonstration. So I've never slapped my assistant because they were incoherent. That's bullshit. And all these people, there's not that many, and they are the same people, like from years and years back. It's all about blackmailing us for money. It's okay. I I don't feel like succumbing to this bullshit. For years, I would return everybody's money, even in the middle of the workshop. And then I realized I wasn't helping anybody. Yeah. And we looked at what everybody else does, and we put terms and conditions. If you cancel until then you get 50%. If you cancel after that, you get nothing. So what?
So basically, you're saying you have slapped people and have been slapped as a
No,
demonstration in a
no.
context, but
No,
not
no.
out of.
I don't slap people. I don't touch people in my workshops. Yes, I have been slapped because I asked to be slapped.
Ah,
You wanna,
okay.
you wanna hear the occurrence? I will tell you why I was slapped. Yes. So I had this woman in my workshop, and she was talking about her life, and it was unbelievable. She had no friends. She had no relatives that she talked to. She was totally isolated. Every time that she had somebody close to her anytime, they would do something like speak abruptly to her or, take a bite of her sandwich or something, and she would never forgive them. She would like cut all ties. She would hate them. She would attack them. She would sue them. She had done this to her brothers, her sisters, her mother, her ex husband, her latest boyfriend. She had done the same thing to everybody. So we were talking, and I said that, yes, and when you said in your story that you were sweeping the yard when you were a kid, and your dad told you this. So she goes really angry at me and she said, no, I didn't tell you that. I told you this, that the next day he did it. So I said, okay, I'm sorry, I got it wrong. That's what I heard. And she goes on a tirade against me and says, no, you did it on purpose for this and this and this and this and that. And that was exactly her pattern in her whole life. That was exactly that. So I go with it, I go on my knees and I say, I really apologize that I said that. I was truly mistaken. Can you please forgive me and we can go on? And she goes, no, and I know why you did that, and you did. Okay, so I said the story wrong. That's how I understood it. It wasn't an important thing. Can we move on with the conversation? Yeah. And she was like adamant, angry, and all of that kind of thing. So I fall on my knees, I fall down, I fall on the floor. I kiss her feet. Say, please, can you forgive me? No. So I say, okay, Ferd, he was my assistant. Give me a slap. So the guy gives me a slap. Yeah, he was a Filipino. He's still alive, but he's not my assistant anymore. So he was a Filipino, not because of that. He was a Filipino, but very wiry. He was like a yogi and very, very strong. Thin, but very strong. So I say, slap me harder. This is not a slap. So you really want me to slap you? Yeah. So he slaps me. And fuck my brains, if a grown man really slaps you with all their force, like your brains hit your skull. So it's okay, are you satisfied now? He says, no, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay, slap me again. So now he's slapping me for 10 minutes. My whole face is red. I'm in full concussion because my brains go bop, bop. Actually, he's slapping me from one side. So I beg him, can you slap me from one and the other? So I go to the center. And everybody in the room is saying, stop this. Tell me, stop, stop, stop. I say, first, don't stop unless she says stop. And he's hitting me and hitting me and hitting me and hitting me and hitting me. And once he's hitting me, I said, that's what you do to everybody that's ever loved you. And bang, and bang, and bang, and bang. And that demonstration changed that woman's life. That I was willing to be beaten to a pulp to show something to her. Now, about me hitting my assistant, I don't think I've ever done it. But I may have done it and not remember it for a very specific reason, similar to something like that. But I'm not trying to defend myself. I don't give a fuck. The point is, the stuff I say is very controversial. So if you quit and don't stay till the end, you can be very angry with me. Like, for example, when I said that, trauma is a choice, right? You can be extremely angry. How dare you say that? You disregard that I'm really in pain. You're an asshole. Okay, good. Chill.
So that was satisfactory.
If it's not, keep asking me. I have no problem telling you everything. Personally, I cannot remember of me slapping somebody, but it may have happened. And there was obviously a reason. During your workshop, did you see me hurt anybody or touch anybody? Have you heard anybody from the people you know that anybody's been touched in one of my workshops? No. But I can slap you emotionally, intellectually, perceptually, without touching.
Yes,
But I don't
you
touch.
do that.
But I don't touch people in my workshops. So it's kind of bullshit. And I tell you, these people, they have not been to a workshop of mine. There were three of them, a couple and another guy, and they went on a campaign for years. And we did lose people because they read these things. And for years, don't they have a life? They kept going for it. And nowadays, occasionally, the same people, they remember it because they don't have a life, and they write something about me. Not from people that have been to my workshops.
Okay.
And we actually, if you look at our site, there is a video on our site that says, why do we have bad reviews? It explains every single person there. You can go watch it. At some point, they convinced me to say, we got to say something, Plus, social media likes to promote dramatic things. Everything negative gets like first ranking. The positives, they go behind because it's less sensationalist. But yeah, I don't need to defend myself.
I didn't want to attack you with that question either, just so that's
I
clear.
do not feel attacked, my friend.
Okay.
It is absolutely impossible for you to offend me. You can call me anything you like. You can call me, I've been called fat blob of lard. I've been called like abusive, a fascist, anything you can imagine. It is impossible for you to offend me. Because if I call you lazy, and you're not lazy, I can't offend you. Okay, I'm lazy, big deal. But if you feel you're lazy, then you're offended because you agree with me, you believe it, even if you deny it. So, it's impossible to offend me. I told you from the beginning, you can say anything you like and ask anything you like. I am like super chill about it. You cannot offend me. He's satisfied. Johannes, next question.
I have one more thing. We were talking about trauma, but like, would you say the same thing about schizophrenia and like serious mental illnesses? And maybe you can say one word about narcissism or what is considered narcissism
Yeah,
nowadays.
let's take one question at a time. Yes?
Yes.
One question. Ask the narcissism afterwards. So there's people that have 12-inch dicks. There are people that have 1-inch dicks. There's tall, there's short, there's fat. Life is a continuous experiment. So they do exist statistically people that may have wrongly wired brains or very weird chemistries of their brains. It's possible. But this is 0.01% of the mental illnesses you encounter. The rest, 99.99%, is solvable. So yes, there are schizophrenics you cannot help. at least you need to help with chemistry because the chemistry is all fucked up. The same way as for some people, like my immune system is fucked and wants to kill the anticoagulants that causes clots and thrombosis of every organ. That's why I'm very sick. Although I'm still alive after like 23 years from the prediction that I'm going to die and getting laid on a very regular basis. But there are things that are physical. But in the vast majority of cases, there are things that can be solved through realignment of beliefs and realignment of the being. So yes is my answer, but there are exceptions.
Okay, because when you because I asked that because I think I told you I used to work in as like someone who would work with people who had like serious mental diseases, and two of my six clients were diagnosed with schizophrenia, and they were indeed the two of out of the six that were, to at least to me, in my feeling how I perceived them, I could not I got scared of them at some like sometimes especially of one of them I was scared because like something inside of him could snap every second, and then I don't know, it felt like something changed in him and he was like emotionally gone and really weird stuff. But the rest of them, I think they were like anxiety disorders and like yeah
Look, I've dealt
Sucht.
with many schizophrenics
Yeah.
because I refuse nobody.
Mm.
Even when I was doing the ayahuasca, everybody said if anybody has any mental illness, we don't take them. I would take anybody. As long as they gradually quit drugs before they came to me. So I've dealt with many schizophrenics. I've dealt with double personality disorders, multiple personality disorders, all kinds of things. And I've also encountered like true schizophrenics once or twice, people that are really like physically twisted. I will tell you one small piece of information. Even the greatest, most acute schizophrenic, they have a reasoning in their brain. So they may think that they're extraterrestrials on top of their apartment shooting rays at them and giving them instruction. But still, they have a reasoning, even if the reasoning is entirely outlandish. What you have to do with these people is talk to them according to their reasoning. And say, okay, so they're extraterrestrials up there. Yeah? Let's go and meet them and I will protect you. Let's go and see. You've seen that I'm powerful. Let's go and talk to the extraterrestrials. And let's fuck with them. That person is no longer a threat to you, he's an ally. Because you're reasoning with them with their logic, rather than try to impose your logic on them. But everybody, even the craziest of people, they have a justification. So the biggest criminal, serial killer, they have a justification. They say, oh, I'm doing this because I'm protecting the world from bad people. Or I'm doing this because everybody does it, and if I don't do it, then I'm a lamb and I'm not a wolf. Or whatever. It could be thousands of things. But there is a justification, there is a logic to everything that they do, although you may not be able to see this logic. So there is, if you're not a threat to a person, and if you point out to them that it's not to their benefit to hurt you, and ask them, in which way would it be a benefit for you to hurt me? And they will tell you for this reason, to protect myself, to this and this. And then I say, okay, let's adapt. Let me take out any reason you have to hurt me. Then these people cannot justify their minds, even the crazy minds, to hurt you, and then they never will. Right? So this is my answer, even for like very dangerous schizophrenics. They have to have a benefit. Nothing happens without a benefit. Even if the benefit is I'm going to enjoy it. Yeah. But if I'm giving you a different kind of enjoyment, then, it would serve you to kill that person and not me. Because that person offers you zero and I offer you something, so kill them. Then I'm not in danger anymore, automatically, because this can make sense to them. So if you find what makes sense to them, then you're chill.
Okay. Makes sense, yeah.
I've met and worked with major criminals several times. People who have killed or tortured many people. And I could deal with them.
And after you worked with them, did they do it again?
Actually, there's a story. I don't know if you want to hear it. But once I had this mafia boss. And this mafia boss was from the Eastern Bloc. And when the Eastern Bloc fell, the Iron Curtain, he was a little guy. And in order to survive, he had to be the most ruthless of all. So he had become the most ruthless and became a mafia boss. So this guy had done many things in his life. Many things even more kind of horrifying that you would watch in a movie sometimes. So then this person found himself in a place where he was like a cocaine addict and sleeping with a gun, even with a locked door. He was going really paranoid and was really unhappy. So he fell upon Eastern philosophies and the ayahuasca, and he started living a double life. Like 11 and a half months of the year, he would be the mafia boss, although he graduated from the violence to doing more kind of chill things, like, I don't know, smuggling, contraband, money laundering, and things like that, and not violent things. But he was still in this world, and then a couple of weeks a year, he would go somewhere and do ayahuasca, and then kind of be spiritual and chill. So I started treating this guy who was very aggressive. Yeah. When he was brought here by Ferd, the guy that slapped me, and he was telling him that here we do the ayahuasca different, so we lie down and go out of body and don't move. The first thing he said, I don't do that. In the ayahuasca, I move like the snake and I do whatever the fuck I want. So anyway, we're going and going, and I'm getting to this guy as the days pass, and he's become extremely grateful. He wants to give me $50,000 donation back then, 10 years ago. And I say, we don't accept that donations. You paid for the workshop, that's it. We don't take anything. No. I'm going to send you 100 people. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. He wants to have my babies. We're not done. Again, after a couple of nights, oh, now I've got everything. And I want to have your babies. I want to support you, give you money, give you people, give you everything. They say, no, we're not done. No, we're done. No, we're not done. And then we get to a confrontation. And he could be really split personality, like he could be a really nice guy and you would never imagine he's a mafia boss. And he could be really hard and menacing and scary. So after a ceremony where there is an altercation, in the sharing, he gets really angry with me. And he stands up and he starts screaming at me and says, now I get it. You want to steal my dragon. He called his dragon this ruthless force that made him be able to do things. You want to steal my dragon. You're a hypocrite. You're this, you're that. He's looming above me. He's really menacing, super scary, like a total crazy person, like different personality. And he's screaming and screaming. And I say, so, okay, man. So, like, for a week now, you want to give me everything. And obviously, you're a very powerful man, like multimillionaire. Very powerful man. And you're not a good enemy to have. So why do you think I'm telling you this thing? Do you think I'm stupid? Do you think I'm stupid? He says, no, you're not stupid. So why am I doing this? Yesterday you want to send me all your people and do all that, and now I'm confronting you. So why the fuck do you think that? Are you an idiot? And then he kind of turns to me and says, you don't understand, Mikis. In my line of work, because I'm telling him that he has to gradually get out of it completely. In my line of work, bullets fly. Nobody can quit. And I tell him, and one of them, he had a 20-year-old son, one of them one day will hit your son and you will be guilty forever. He deflates and falls on the floor. That guy now is doing different things. And he doesn't need his dragon anymore. He still has it, in case he needs it. If there's the zombie apocalypse or anybody come for his family, he's gonna come out and roar. But he's not dependent on this dragon anymore. Is that an answer to your question?
Yes.
Or maybe it was Leo's question, I forget. Who's next?
So me. I actually want to steal Johannes' question, and or actually I don't know if it's exactly Johannes' question, but I'm also interested in the topic because the topic of narcissism is big right now too, and at best it's just like a style of personality that someone's a bit more narcissistic than others, whatever, and at worst it is just destructive and detrimentary, a detriment to everyone around them.
Why exactly?
And I'm
Why exactly? I mean, you are like a psychotherapist. So tell me, what is a narcissist? Define a narcissist.
well, a narcissist is basically someone that can only truly attach value to themselves and what they have and get in life. And that is often more like utilitarian than it is deontological or driven by empathy and caring for others.
Do you know what the word means, narcissist?
Well, there are different interpretations.
No, there's only one interpretation because it's a Greek word. It comes from a myth, Narcissus.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
Narcissus is like a water lily, it's a flower. And it's about a guy that was totally in love with himself so much that he kept looking at his reflection in the mirror in the water that was mirroring in the pond, that when it was quiet it was like a mirror. And then one day he got so kind of like obsessed about how beautiful he was that he fell in the lake and died. And the gods, they felt pity on him. And instead of drowning, he turned into a water lily. That's the myth, right? And that's Narcissus. And so narcissism is somebody who is in love with themselves.
I think that's a very positive interpretation of what the phenomenon is trying to point out. And I don't think that's what it's trying to point at.
Okay, this is the actual meaning of the word. Let's see what is the context that it's approached nowadays.
Yeah, that's what I
So
meant.
at one point in Quora, I was following Quora, various subjects, also writing there. I got bored. Too much censorship. You can't say anything of value with them threatening you to cut you off. And I'm a prime suspect to be cut off because I say unpopular things or unconventional things. So it was like a big furor about narcissism. So everybody called their ex-boyfriends or ex-girlfriends or mothers or fathers narcissists. There was one woman in particular, and she wrote this big thing and she said, my husband of 35 years, we have 4 children, and for 35 years, he convinced me that he loved me and he was a good family man. He pretended to be the perfect father to our children. He pretended to be the perfect husband. He brought me flowers. He took me out. He romanced me. And then after 35 years, he left me for another woman. And then I realized that all along he was a narcissist. All he cared was about himself. And I answered on Quora. And I said, how come you're not grateful? For 35 years, this guy is pretending convincingly to be the perfect husband, taking care of you, loving you, and the perfect father, and so on. And he's not allowed to change his mind and do something else. And you destroy all these good memories. Have some gratitude. You had 35 years of this perfect guy, and you're having no gratitude, and you're slurring him on Quora. Well, they banned me for a week for this, and they took it off because, of course, you can't say things like that. A narcissist is purely somebody who's in love with themselves, and I'm like an enormous narcissist. I'm crazy about myself. I spend enough years hating myself, my crooked thing, my weird nose, I have no hair, I'm fat, and all of these kind of things. Hated myself. And now I'm crazy about myself. I entertain myself no end. I think I'm like the coolest person I know. And I prioritize what I want. But I'm not stupid. If the people around me are not happy, then I don't have allies. My whole life is based on the goodwill of people around me. So I'm not an idiot. So of course, I take care of myself first and then a lot of other people around me. So of course I'm a narcissist. Why wouldn't I be? In every kind of spiritual practice, they say, love yourself. And then I asked many teachers, I studied with many teachers all over the world when I was in my spiritual search. And how do I do this? Sometimes I love myself, and then the next morning I wake up and I hate myself and everything is shit again. How do I do it? So they gave me the Nike logo, just do it. It's not like this. And eventually the ayahuasca, the grandmother taught me that it's not enough to love yourself. Why would you love yourself instead of being crazy in love with yourself? So I became in love with myself. And I care first about myself. And of course, then about the people that are close to me, because, of course, it's nicer to have happy people than have grumpy people around you. Why would you want to have grumpy and unhappy people around you? And then, of course, if I can do something nice for people that are less close to me, like Johannes, which I've only met 8 months, I will do it. Anybody needs my help, they can call me, they can write to me. You know that, Johannes, you've lived it, right? And then, of course, I have an extra ally that has goodwill for me. So this is also for me. Maybe I will never need to ask a favor from Johannes, ever. But it's like an investment, like insurance. If I need something, I can ask Johannes. And if he tells me no, it's no big deal. He doesn't have to, he doesn't owe me anything because, nobody owes me anything. But I have a higher chance of him saying yes. And if I don't care and I have 100 people, so okay, Johannes, don't worry about it. It's difficult for you. Ask somebody else. Out of 100, one will do me the favor that I need. So basically, I'm not an idiot. If I'm nice to you and I care about you, then I have a benefit. I'm basically just not a hypocrite because every single living being on the planet is programmed by nature to take care of their own needs, their survival, their well-being first. And then, of course, to their families, to everybody around. And if you can, the whole tribe or the whole area, why not? Then everybody's good-willed for you, so you're a clever narcissist. So anybody who's not a narcissist is just psychiatrically ill because they don't like themselves. They don't love themselves and they don't prioritize themselves. Because why wouldn't you? Anybody else dies, life goes on. You meet new people. If you die, end of story. If I lose a leg, then I can't walk. If you lose a leg, then you can't walk. So, of course, I prefer you lose a leg than me lose a leg. Why would I prefer I lose a leg than you lose a leg? So, yes, I care. I prefer you don't lose a leg, Leo. But,
Yeah, that's fine.
But you know what? If you lose a leg, I'm not going to die, right? It's not my leg.
But
And if I
for
lose a
me,
leg, and if I lose a leg, yes, then I will have a lot of goodwill from people to help me hobble if I need to. So it's very, very simple. What is nature? In nature, a mother dog, a bitch, will have her little puppy and she will growl. "Ah, I'm going to eat first." If you do it as a human, you say, you are like horrible. You should let your child eat first. But no. But the mother wants to feed the child, but understands, like in the planes. They say, in case of accident, the oxygen will fall. Put it first on yourself and then on your child. And then the stupid woman say, no, no, no. Of course, I'm going to put it on my child first. Yes, but if you fade first, then both of you will die, idiot. So obviously, if there's a fire, you're going to run out of the fire. Animals are not going to say, oh, Mrs. Weasel, why don't you pass first? Oh, there is like Mr. Squirrel there, let's take him out, he's weak. No, every animal runs for itself. And it doesn't mean they don't care. Of course, they would like their cousin to survive as well. And if they can help them without getting burned themselves, they will. So this is part of your paradox that you're guilty for caring for yourself first.
no. That's exactly the point. I think what you're talking about in my language is just egocentrism.
But it's the same thing.
No, that's my point. I don't think it is.
Well, why don't you Google right now what is the difference between egocentrism and narcissism, and you will only find incoherent things. Go for it. The
Okay.
proof is in the pudding. Go for it. Find what is the difference, definition. What's the definition of an egocentric and a narcissist? Let's see what you find.
So,
Okay, go for it.
I have found something from Quora.
Yeah.
yeah, feel
The
free.
main difference between a narcissist, an egocentric, and an egoist is that the narcissist is someone who has an inflated sense of self-importance. An egocentric is someone who is overly focused on themselves, and an egoist is someone who puts their own interests before others.
Okay. Everybody puts their own interest before others. So everybody's an egoist. Everybody
Yeah.
puts their own interest. And what's the difference between an egocentric and a narcissist? Somebody who has an inflated sense of their self-importance. Of course, if the world revolves around you as an egocentric, you believe you're more important than others. But everybody believes they're more important than others. So it's basically you are condemning reality. Reality is that, of course, you're the most important person in the world. Who else is? So, okay, Leo, who is more important than you? Me? Johannes, who?
Well, to me and my life, I am the most important.
Good. So you're a narcissist and an egocentric.
Now, I think I'm an egocentric, but not a narcissist. There's a difference because for me, narcissism has a clear definition of like either patterns of grandiosity and self-inflated ego, or the opposite, actually, where I'm so terrible that makes me special. Or
That's not a
things like
narcissist.
a need
That's
for
not.
admiration, and often also just like,
Okay.
while I would
Going
agree,
on and on. Look. This is how you never reach something clear. Because instead of saying point by point and examining it, you go and you give a list of 30 things. So basically, it's not a definition. A definition is one thing. One small phrase, concise. A description is not a definition, a random description. Yeah? If you say a hamburger is blah, 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 and you speak for 20 minutes, that's not a definition. A hamburger is two pieces of bread with a patty of minced meat in between. All the rest are descriptions. If it has lettuce, if it has onion, if it has this, if it has that. And you can have all kinds of hamburgers. It can be from pork meat, it can be from whatever, it can even be a vegetarian hamburger or a fish patty, but it's still a hamburger. People recognize it as a hamburger. So a definition is something concise. Yes, some kind of minced patty in between two pieces of bread, and all the rest is just description of a particular type of this thing. What is a cup? There's millions of cups with handles, without handles, with blue, yellow, rounded, any kind of cup. You go to a kitchen place, you find 1,000 cups. But a cup is a receptacle for mostly hot, but even cold beverages. And that's it. It could be ceramic, it could be metal, it could be so on. So please be focused and give me a definition. He said that Cora said there is a person with an inflated self-importance. And you say, I have an inflated self-importance because obviously I'm the most important person in the world to me. So according to Johannes' definition, you're a narcissist. Now, if you want to discuss this issue, instead of giving me a list of descriptions, think look on the internet and find a definition of a narcissist, and then we can discuss. Because your way of discussing does not bring clarity. So find the definition, and I will answer according to your definition. I don't care what you find. Whatever you find, I'll work with. Go for it.
So I also want to point out that some definitions are more complex than other definitions. And I think this is exactly the problem we're standing in front of with this question.
There is no complex definition. If it's complex, it's not a definition. The definition of something must apply to all versions of this category or object. Everything else is a description. Because in everything in the world, there's a variety. So what is a tall person? Yes. A tall person in the pygmy society is somebody who, instead of like 60 centimeters, is 65. A tall person for the Dutch is somebody who is 2 meters. A tall person for a Greek is somebody who's 180. So the definition of a tall person is not to try to find all these numbers, all these things, or all these variations, but say a tall person is somebody who is taller than the average of the people around him. End of story. A definition is always something that applies to all the versions of a particular category of items or situations. So you find a definition of narcissist because what I'm proposing to you, that everybody is using this term for different things. And they're all distorted. So find the definition and I shall answer. So according to my definition, the definition of Quora, and any definition I've found, a narcissist is, the most sincere person around and something that we should all be. And if we're clever about it, everybody benefits. So you go ahead and find the definition.
So my most concise definition is that a narcissist is someone whose lack of empathy is impairing themselves and their surrounding.
What does lack of empathy mean? How can you measure empathy? If somebody, wait, let me just finish.
Sure.
If somebody is super empathetic, there's people that say, I meet people that say, oh, I'm a nervous wreck because I empathize so much for other people that I can feel their emotions and I'm a wreck and I can handle it. What is a healthy or average level of empathy? And according to any statistic, there will be some with more or more time, and there's some with less. It's a curve, a bell curve, like you did, like anything else. Where are the limits of human behavior? So, for example, I was always considered extremely empathetic. And my brother, when he was young, my mother considered him very cold and not empathetic. So he studied in Canada. She went to visit him once. He came back and he said, Mikis, you're not going to believe it. Your brother, he actually has a pot with a plant and he takes care of it and he really loves that pot plant. And I was very surprised because I always considered him cold. So my brother had the defense mechanism to not show emotionality much in a dysfunctional household. But when he was away, he was empathetic to his plant, and then to his girlfriend, and then to his wife, and now he has sons, and he's empathetic to them, and he doesn't show much like drama about things that he's not close to. Is there something wrong with him? What's the level of empathy that is acceptable? Below which level are you a narcissist? And I'll tell you that all these people that are called narcissists They would never have a relationship. They would never get married. They would never do that because they would just use people. So the kind of theoretical narcissist that people are angry about does not really exist, because everybody, unless like a complete psychopath, cares about something. Serial killers, they love their mothers. So you cannot say they can kill in cold blood. You cannot, everybody else. But then mommy is like a treasure. You can't say they have no empathy. You cannot say just because this person doesn't give a fuck about the rest of society and just loves their cat. So you tell me which level of empathy is the threshold to be considered to have no empathy.
I don't think that's within my capabilities.
Right. So nobody has ever met a person with zero empathy, because that person does not exist. So there is a threshold. And is that threshold what? It depends on the fashion of the society at the moment. Nowadays, we're supposed to be empathetic about everybody. People on the other side of the world that we don't know. They put on the news, 17 people died in Guadalajara. I don't give a flying fuck. I don't know them. I would never have met them. They have never influenced my life. They're just numbers to me. People tell me there's 8 billion people in the world. I only know the tens of thousands that I come in contact with. The rest are an abstract. If tomorrow you tell me it was a lie and there's not 8 billion people in the world, it's actually 1 billion, it wouldn't make a fucking difference to me. If you told me that 7 billion people died and I know none of them, and you say you are devoid of empathy because you don't care, of course I don't care. I'm grateful that the ones I know didn't die, like the antelope. So am I sick in some way? But I believe I'm not. And I believe that whatever I feel is the truth for everybody. And just hypocrisy and virtue signaling that you care about people that you don't know and they will never affect your life. So
Like,
everybody has empathy. Yes. Please answer.
I think the thing is we're somehow not talking about the same thing, I feel, because for me, a narcissist is someone where when your friend Simon, who set us up today, dies, you feel like your lighter broke. Oh, my lighter. Isn't that sad?
Well,
Gotta get a new one. And that's a narcissist. That's like a psychopathological narcissist. They relate to my friend like I relate to my pants.
but I'm telling you, this does not exist.
Oh, okay.
Wait, because that would be an idiot. Because my friend Simon, who set up this call, is useful to me for setting up this call. And it's hard to get another person that is willing to set up this call, whereas I can buy this lighter for 50 cents. So unless I'm demented completely, which means I cannot even function to go to the toilet, of course I care more about losing Simon than my lighter. So you're talking about a perception of people that does not exist, because Johannes is useful to you even for just like having a beer once in a while or having a talk. So if he dies, obviously you care more than the lighter. Where is this person that cares for a person that is in their lives and useful to them as much as the lighter? Have you ever met one? I haven't, because that would be a complete idiot. They wouldn't be able to even roast an egg. Because then the greengrocer that they can buy eggs with, they die, the shop closes down, and they have to walk an extra 500 yards to get eggs. So if for them it's the same that he died and they lost the person selling them eggs, they're idiots. So obviously they care more than for the lighter, everybody. So where is this person? When have you met one?
I think I probably have met one before.
Okay, can you describe this person to me?
I think the description that I just gave you was actually pretty accurate because it was also inspired by them and what I've read about narcissism afterwards. And that is that
Forget what
it's
you
like,
read. Forget what you read. Tell me about the person, your experience. You're telling me what you read. Do you doubt that
well,
you can read bullshit? Do you doubt that in all this noise that's around us, you can read a lot of bullshit?
of course,
So, I mean, half the world believed in 1999 that the year 2000 would come, and because there would be an extra digit and the computers would miss a digit, then the airplanes would fall. It doesn't mean it was true. So you tell me not what you read, but tell me your life experience, please.
mhm.
Go.
So what I noticed was that I was 15 and he was 16, and he had
15, 15 you mean?
15
And
years
he
old.
was 16.
Yes.
Okay.
And we started talking to each other and sharing about, like, basically the secrets we have and things we do and stuff like that. And he basically shared with me, like, a secret that he feels about people like he feels about objects. Like, he noticed that when his computer broke, he felt so much more devastated than when his sister died, like 2 months ago. And
That
from
is
that
not
point
that
on,
that is not like lack of empathy. Wait, you're getting it wrong. Because I feel about objects sometimes more about people. Because, for example, my computer, I, I mean, if I lose my computer, I'm kind of autistic. It's hard for me to get to know another machine, and it's kind of painful for me. So for me, it's very disturbing. I'm not a consumer. I don't buy things. If I have this phone, I'm not the kind of person that will buy the new model every year. I will use this phone until it dies, and then I will get used to the next one and I will use it until it dies and not before. Okay? So for me, losing one of my personal objects is very important. Now, if I lost my brother, I would care more about my computer. But if I lost a distant relative that I haven't seen for 10 years and plays no role in my life, I would say, okay, Aunt Clara died. I didn't like her anyway. And I would feel nothing. Yet when I lose my phone, I will lose something very important. But I will not feel any distress about losing this lighter because it's easily replaceable and they all have the same functionality. So I think you're seeing this the wrong way. This friend of yours cared enough to divulge to you something that he felt kind of guilty or weirded about. So he cared enough to open up to you. So obviously you were more valuable than the sister, where he probably didn't have anything in common or never talked to her and didn't trust her or anything like that. So he could have very easily said that, if you move away and you go to Australia and I cannot have you as a friend anymore, I will be devastated. Whereas with my sister, I felt nothing. Your friend was actually expressing empathy to you, and he was being sincere, and he was trusting you to do this. This doesn't mean that he cared for you as much as the lighter. Obviously, you were much more useful than a lighter, because it would be very easy for you for him to give you a lighter, or like give you 10 lighters. So you're interpreting a situation in a way where it's not realistic. So this guy was telling you that he doesn't feel much about people he doesn't like, or they're not in his life. But yet he expressed a lot of empathy for you.
I think the context in that happened was that he was trying to understand himself.
Yes.
Like, why is everybody else devastated and I'm not?
Well, there's 1,000 reasons. Let me tell you the most common reason. I meet many times people that come to me and they say, look, Mikis, I feel nothing. That's what they do. They say, I feel nothing. I had a case many years ago of this South African guy, and he was a very, very handsome guy, blonde, green eyes, great body, and he was the single son of a very rich family. So he had money and money from his parents, but he was also a stunt driver, a stuntman in the UK. He had moved to the UK and was a stuntman, and he was like in famous movies of the time. I'm not going to mention because I don't want like to, point to specific people. And this guy had the most beautiful girlfriend. He showed us a picture, like supermodel, Eurasian beauty. And he was a stuntman because to make himself feel something. So you would ask him, do you do this kind of things where you jump off buildings? And he'd say, yeah, I do them. What's that like? He was, well, I'll tell you one of the things, he was like in Lord of the Rings, for example, and movies, big movies. They say, do you do this thing where you jump off the building? Yeah, what's that like? It's okay. Do you do these things where your car rolls and burns inside? Yeah. What's that like? Yeah, the first time I do it, it's kind of exciting and then it's boring. And he was very suffering because of this. Like, I have this girlfriend, like, I like her, but my friends talk to me and they say, oh, I'm in love, or I'm in pain. I don't feel this kind of shit. Invariably, in most cases, this is what in shamanism and in psychotherapy we call a contract. Sometimes when you have a very strong feeling and you're devastated, either, or most often when you're like very guilty. So for example, you feel that you hate your mother, and I hate her because she didn't give me chocolate ice cream. And then your mother dies in an accident, you believe that you wished her to die and you're responsible. Then what you do is you make a contract with yourself to not feel something so strong ever again. So that you dial down your emotions, and because all emotions are in the same dial, the same volume, you also dial empathy, enthusiasm, love, and all these kind of things, because
So
you're
in the
either guilty or afraid to feel this again, and that is treatable, and it has nothing to do with narcissism. Usually, these people, they don't even feel that good about themselves. That person, everybody admired him, handsome, rich. Not only did his parents have money, but he was also making like a super career, super pussy girlfriend, super everything. And everybody told him how great they are. But he was feeling there's something wrong with him. So that does not mean they have no empathy. This guy had empathy. Is that an answer satisfactory to your question?
I think this answer is not that satisfactory to me
It's not.
because
Oh, tell me
on the
why.
one hand, I feel like I like the idea of maybe there just isn't such a thing as narcissism or like psychopathy. but I think it's really well established at this point, and I
What is
maybe I'm just
established?
not getting it.
What is established is what you usually call a sociopath. Somebody who experiences no guilt or shame, so they can kill something and not feel any guilt or shame. Yes, sociopathy and various psychosis. But the point is that these people that are accused of being narcissists, they live very nice lives. They don't have any problems. They are accused by some people to be narcissists, and
Mm,
some people they have very good relationship with them. Invariably, they are people that don't feel the same range of kind of what you call empathy, but there's no indication that somebody doesn't feel anything. So there are like many cases you can read about them, like serial killers, big time sociopaths that have a goat and they love it and they take care of it. Just because they don't care about you doesn't mean they don't care about anything. So I don't
yeah.
think we have any scientific evidence that there's somebody that feels for everything else the same as their lighter. This is not possible because even to the craziest of person, the things that have value. Their favorite chair is more important than something else. Everything values things. Every kind of living being, they value things, even if it's their genes.
Yeah.
So you're talking about an imaginary concept, and just because people talk about it doesn't mean that it's real.
Well, I get that, but I think there is a part of it that is real. There is like it's being inflated, and this is where the answer is pretty satisfactory, because in an age where everything that is strong and self-oriented is bad and demeaned, narcissists must be everywhere and they're bad. It's like just a bad word to put on people who really value their own needs and wants above others.
But also, I told you about real schizophrenia, something that is not curable because of bad wiring or bad physiology, and that is 0.001, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
of the cases of any kind of behavior. So out of the narcissists, there is a 0.001% that may have some kind of like huge dysfunction. But
Mm-hmm.
statistically, you would not be very likely to meet one. Yet people talk about millions and millions of narcissists.
Yeah.
And out of these millions, if it's 0.001, it's okay. There's 10, there's 20 in the whole world, 50, 100 that have a really like fucked up wiring. But it's unlikely that anybody would ever meet one of them. So I'm talking that for all intents and purposes, nothing is absolute, of course. But for all intents and purposes, this person that you talk does not really exist. Of course, there exist people with three legs. You're unlikely to find them. They exist, people with X, X, Y, Z chromosomes, but you're unlikely to ever actually meet one out of the millions and millions of people who say they're like transsexual or a different sex. So, yes, in absolute terms, everything exists. Every variation in nature exists. But as far as practical terms, who you will ever meet in your life, such a person you will never meet, statistically. Maybe you will meet, but the rest of the 8 billion will not. Is
Okay.
that a satisfactory answer?
Yeah, it is.
Very good.
Especially for like the pragmatic approach is don't look for narcissists.
Look, have you ever read anything about quantum physics?
Yeah.
So according to quantum physics, all probability exists.
All
So
what?
every probability exists in a quantic universe. Every probability. So there's a probability that there will be such circumstances, a magnetic field or something like that, where I would let go of this lighter and that lighter will levitate. This probability scientifically exists, yet for all intents and purposes, this will never happen in your life. There is a probability that tomorrow the sun will not rise. But why are you worried about it? Because statistically, it will not happen in your lifetime. Maybe in a
Only
billion
if we
years or a
sacrifice
random
people.
time, through like some circumstances, a meteorite will hit the sun and it'll blow up and it's not going to rise. But should you live your life worried about this, since it realistically will probably never happen? So every time you wake up, there's a probability that the floor has disappeared. You kind of like try with your leg to see if the floor is there, or do you just step out and go and pee? So why would you live your life on a statistical probability of encountering something that is as unlikely for you to happen as this lighter levitating out of the blue? So in Athens, near Athens, on a mountain, the mountain of Parnas, there is a spot where there's a specific kind of mineral. And if I have guests from abroad and we're in that way, I take them there and I stop the car and I put in neutral. And then the car starts creeping upwards, uphill, uphill and uphill and uphill and uphill. Yes. And that's kind of like a cool thing to show tourists. But you don't live your life like that. On practically 99.999999999% of the times your car will be in a hill. Yes, if it's in neutral and off, it's going to slide backwards. Or worse, the incline is small, it's going to stay there. It's not going to go uphill. So it does happen. I know a specific spot where I can take you and it will happen, Back in the day, if I wanted to impress a girl, I would like say, okay, let me show you something magical. We would go to that place. Greeks know about it. Yes. It's no big deal. You can live the rest of your life believing that cars don't go uphill out of the blue, and you're going to be fine. And you can live your life believing that nobody has zero empathy, and still you're going to be fine as living your life with the fact that things roll downhill and not uphill.
Can I add something to
Yeah,
that?
please.
I have the feeling that maybe narcissism, as well as many other words, are used as like a combat word, as a fighting word. Like when people don't take responsibility for their shit and someone else does, and then they're like, oh, like he's an asshole, like he's a narcissist.
Absolutely.
And it's being used in that way. This is the way I was attacked by my training group, like my Gestalt training group. It was only women. I was the only, like, okay, there were two other men, but I was the only one being like a bit more punchy and pushy and impulsive. And they would jump at me like I was the worst, like I don't know, narcissistic, blah 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 blah. And I started to believe that in the beginning was like, oh, I'm sorry, I'm such, oh, shame on me. And now now I think like fuck them, like really really fuck them. I don't give a flying fuck about that shit anymore. Yeah,
You're absolutely right. Is a flag for people to convince themselves that they're victims. I'm the
yeah,
victim of this narcissist. But in every single case that you meet, they had choice and there was something they could have done for whatever happened. But they
yeah,
don't want to take responsibility. So it's like a red flag. That person is a narcissist.
yeah.
Anyway, question.
Yeah.
Any question? Are you satisfied, Leo, with my answer?
Yeah, I am.
Okay. We'll go on if you're not. Johannes, do you have any more questions or have you run out?
I think, let me check once more.
I want to point out that we were exactly at 3 hours now too. Run time of podcast, I believe.
Okay. So you run out of questions. Very
Maybe
nice.
it's good to put a point. Yes. Thank you, Mikis.
Fine. Thank you for participating. I'm doing my show now, like the Dancing Bear. Thank you for participating in the 5th edition of Dungeon Chats. And have a great life, guys.
You too.
You too.
Thank you.
Want to play RPG in our dungeon? Would you like us to make you a small, medium, or huge custom-made sculpture? Or even your own castle? Contact us at contact@fantasyscaping.com.